Thank you and welcome to another edition of My Dinner with Gabe, the film review show on River West Radio with Zav LaPlay and Gabe Van Handel. Hi, Zav.
Hi, Gabe.
And today we've got some amazing guests. Holy crap, it's going to be freaking awesome. It's going to be the best thing ever. We have Bobby Cervaldo on the show. We have Andrew Swan on the show. Yeah, it's awesome. Andrew Swan is returning. This is the third time he's been on the show. Bobby Cervaldo's here, and this is the first time he's been on the show. Bobby and Andrew are two names that should just be linked together forever. Because usually when I say one of them, someone goes, well, yeah, Bobby and Andrew, Bobby and Andrew, Bobby and Andrew. So I figured I don't want Andrew just to be on the show. I want Bobby and Andrew on the show. And I said, Andrew, you got to bring Bobby on. And he goes, well, yeah, he wants to come on. I'm like, well, bring him on. So now we got him. This is great. So we are going to talk to them about a couple of points here. And they are
also, my friend Martin is here.
And Martin is here.
Thank you.
And he's sitting here, and
Martin's from Minneapolis.
He's been all over the place, and he's a filmmaker, and he's got a mind full of intelligence, and he's going to hopefully contribute some talking points and some
Dairy creamer?
non-dairy creamer points. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be gangster as hell. So today we're going to talk about, with Bobby and Andrew, we're going to talk, since they are a collaborative filmmaking duo and a collaborative creative duo, we're going to talk about collaborative filmmaking and the collaborative process, of which I'm also acquainted with my friend Mike Johnson, who is a collaborator with them as well on one or more projects and a good friend of theirs. And we're going to talk about the F'd Up movie series, which is going on across the street tonight, which Andrew Swan is a huge part of it. It's like totally awesome because they show like really crazy movies that are beautiful and cerebral and thought-provoking and just freaking disturbing. It's awesome. And then we're also going to talk about piracy and copyright, legally, personally, and how it affects us as a culturally obsessed society. A pop culture just infused. We can't live without this crap. We're married to our computers. Yeah. So we're going to talk about the history, some current stories with that, and about their battle with Paramount and Viacom over having stolen some of their intellectual ideas. These bastards. Okay, let's go. Andrew Swan is just laughing. He doesn't even know what to do. This is amazing.
Andrew, you started.
Here you go, Andrew. Here's the microphone.
Hey. Thanks for having me back, guys.
I have a question. When did you guys start working together? What was the catalyst?
Well, you want to talk about Zero TV a little bit? Milwaukee show? That's not when we started working together, but it's kind of when we met.
Andrew and I started working together in 2002 or 3 at the end of the run of the Milwaukee show, which is a web-based show on this now defunct website called zerotv.com. And Andrew was sort of like kind of came on as like an intern or something, and everyone was kind of working as interns, I guess, but you were sort of more of an intern.
You were more officially kind of like...
Or did you just get paid less?
Like
Is that what
a
you're saying?
intern for the interns. No one was getting paid at this point, I don't think so.
I worked on the very last episode of the Milwaukee show.
Oh, okay.
Was my introduction.
I was also there, and I saw Andrew from across. Actually, Zav, you were there too.
In the room at the time?
Yeah, you get shot in that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I got shot?
Yeah, you
Yes.
were holding the
With a bullet?
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
you were holding up a cardboard
That was a
cutout
big
of
scene.
someone
It
else.
happened inside a dining room, a
Yep.
big, fancy dining
purple
room.
tablecloth.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That was Andrew's first day on the job, and the last
wow.
episode ever filmed.
Yeah.
So it's his last day on the job too.
Oh, that makes sense.
So
in a way.
you guys have, so that's where you guys met. Where has that process taken you? What are some works, and where can people become familiar or acquainted with your works? And what, I guess, are some talking points that you guys have?
Well, I had a studio in a building called the Milwaukee Fortress, and shortly after I moved in, Bobby got a studio there too. And then I was living there, and I would just go up to Bobby's studio and hang out. We watch movies and talk and sing and make art projects. And I think after about 6 months of that, we decided we should collaborate on some bigger projects.
Is that where Hamlet began?
Yeah, actually, we had a couple ideas. One of them was Hamlet. One of them was we wanted to do our own episodes of The Twilight Zone. We've come up with different, like new,
Oh, wow.
Sort of like fan-made. Yeah, more modern. Well, I mean, I think we're going to do it in black and white, actually, but...
I like the idea of just making it contemporary. I mean, I'm collaborating.
Yeah, like you could do either one.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like a really great idea. Do you think you might do
Because the Twilight Zone still exists.
Wait, but would you be worried about? Speaking of copyright, would you be worried about like dipping into that franchise without an okay somehow?
Oh yeah, you can't call it the Twilight Zone.
Probably call it the Twilight area.
Oh, okay. So it's
The
kind of like those.
Twilight
Have you guys
space.
seen those European versions of Candid Camera?
Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah.
And I only see them on airplanes. I've tried to get a hold of them for the video stuff for years, and I can't find them.
Oops, camera.
Is that something like that?
Whoops, camera.
They're Belgian. I'm pretty sure they're
Oh my
Belgian.
God! I fell in front of the camera again. Camera. Yeah.
I love those.
I know what you're
I love the
talking
fact that they don't use any. It's like international, the language of humor that transcends all. They don't use words. Really.
Stupidity transcends all barriers. It's amazing.
Screaming guy.
And they're a little more sexually charged.
So Hamlet. Let's.
Oh yeah, sorry, I've gone off.
It's okay. What exactly is Hamlet besides the Shakespearean play of notoriety? Take a deep
Hamlet.
breath.
Well, everyone knows Hamlet is a play by Shakespeare, and one of our earliest ideas was to make a feature film very quickly, and we thought, well, Hamlet exists already in script form, and it's in the public domain. Speaking of copyright,
Yeah.
and we thought, oh, we'll just take that and just run through it in front of a green screen with all our friends, and then crank out this feature film really quick, and then.
A very common thing that filmmakers do.
As we began to work on it, we became more and more obsessed with it, and it became more and more elaborate and complex, and maybe ambitious.
I think of it as
Still not done.
I think of it as that thing that happens with computers where you're like, oh, I'll download this video. Especially like back when video was just becoming something you could watch on the internet, and you click on it, and then you see the bar, and at first it sounds like it's going to be, at first it looks like it's going to take 20 seconds, but then that 20 seconds turns to 30, and it turns into like 2 days or something like that.
And then where you're playing it runs into where it's been downloaded. So, okay, hold on. Okay, we got to pause it now. We got to wait for it to download a little more. It still happens with computers, even when at this age of fast internet speed and broadband. You got 17 tabs lined up, and you're like, why can't I get everything I want? And then you got this YouTube clip that's lined up, and you want your YouTube clip now, and you want it now, and it won't give you what you want now. It gets frustrating.
It's happening to the viewers right now.
It is. They want
But
it.
they can't hear
They
that.
can't get it.
All they're seeing is a bar with like a numbers.
that in a second.
Yeah, in a little while they'll hear that part.
Be amazing.
The now part.
So the Hamlet, and then
Yeah, so that's basically the filmmaking process.
And then there was there was something that brought you guys a little bit of fame and notoriety, and sort of became a sensation that I can't quite even understand how huge it is. I had no idea that this was attached to you guys. I had no idea until about a month ago when I found out live on this show that this project, about a month and a half ago, that what in the butt is your collaboration and conception. For anyone listening who does not know what in the butt is, can I get an explanation?
I thought you were going to say just Google that.
Oh. If you're old enough. If you're old enough, Google that.
Yeah, just Google what and butt.
Not what?
Oh,
It's-
that's even better.
Type in what in the butt, and then click the I'm feeling lucky button.
Do they still have the I'm feeling lucky button?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Unbelievably.
So it's a video that features an actor named
Samwell,
Samuel, who is a exuberant, outgoing, black
flight attendant.
flight attendant male who sings a very outgoing, flamboyant rendition of a song called What in the Butt, and it features shadows doing shadow play of certain sexual acts, and there's all sorts of innuendo of chocolate love, and there's all sorts of man-on-man loving innuendo-ness going on, and there's it's like if Beyonce was a male flight attendant and wanted to have sex with another man. That's what this video definitely would kind of encompass. It's a great song. It's produced very well in a comical way and just in a straightforward, like, kind of... I used to play that as a jam for, like, literally about a year after I first saw that video. And I introduced it to some very homophobic, very bro-y friends of mine who I thought I wanted to show it to them just to offend them, and they actually loved it. They thought it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. So and I've showed it to I've shown this video to a lot of people. The humor of it seems so charming and instantly attainable and likable that the fact that whether you're homophobic or not, or whether you would possibly be offended by that if you're gay or not, I just find that everyone I've ever shown it to just is so, like, drawn in by the video, and they're just kind of amazed at, like, the clarity of the production values behind it, and the special effects in it are done really well, and all the humor in it is really, like, direct, and it's not, like, it knows when it's funny, and it knows when it's, like, going for a gimmick, I think, and I've watched it literally about 150 times. It's very, very funny, and I highly recommend a viewing for a lot of people.
The first time you saw it, you kind of knew it was self-aware.
I had
of its own funniness.
No. I had no clue that you guys had anything to do with this. I thought I know. I thought it was an actual music video that guy was trying to put out to promote his music career. Yeah. And then I found out later from someone out, like, after, like, the third time I watched it, I found out that it was actually a joke done by someone in Milwaukee, and I was like, oh, okay, and then I loved it even more, knowing that it's your guys' creation. So maybe a little bit about how that was made. Do you have a clip of that, or is it something else? Yeah. Okay, so let's play a sample of that awesome
okay.
what in the butt.
Tell me when you got it, and I'll bring it up.
Our friend Mike Stasny actually wrote the song.
Right, I was going to say, didn't Mike Stasny, who is also an air hostess? How do you call an air host? A flight attendant, with Samwell, and so Mike Stasny had a big part to do with that music video as well.
He made the song, yeah.
He made the song, and then Samwell liked it and wanted to perform it. Is that how it worked?
We saw them live at Darling Hall. We saw Samwell perform live at Darling Hall. We thought, oh, this would be a great music video.
Yeah.
Asked him if we could make one for him. Yeah, but Mike introduced us and everything because they were both flight attendants for the same
song. It was all Mike's
airline.
baby, right? And then Samuel's like the talent. Okay, I'm gonna bring up the volume.
So just for like a minute. Tell me when to play.
Go. It should be playing. Let's see.
No, it's not playing on here. So.
I've got the auxiliary up. You're listening. Oh, here we go.
I feel you watching me over there. Come to me if you care. Don't sit and stare.
Yeah.
It's just not fair. Make your move.
Sexual act, because this is maybe the only sexual act coming up, the one where there's like censor bars. But what kind of sexual act is that exactly? You know?
That's a what in the butt.
It's kind of like a back-to-back dance.
I said what?
Or not back-to-back.
I said what in the butt.
It's like a spooning dance.
In the butt.
Yeah.
I said what in the butt.
Like a spoon man
In my
dance.
butt. You want to do it in my butt?
Yeah, it's a kind of dance you do in nightclubs. I don't know what you call it. Kind of like grinding a little.
Okay.
Yeah, except a lot of times with grinding, one person's sort of facing the other person's butt.
Don't you worry.
This is like a double-ended
Fight. Not that hard. If you want it.
dance.
butt to butt.
Right.
Butt's a butt. But
Good. So this Hamlet project, which I'm eagerly anticipating this. I want to see this movie. I want to watch it now. So I guess that's all I'm going to say about that, is that I want it to be done so I get to see it. Personal, selfish reasons, and I'm very excited about this project, and I think it'll be a great thing for Milwaukee and the Milwaukee film scene, because I know a lot of other people are very anxious and anticipating this movie. I've said this before in the show, and I'll say it again. It's going to be the most awesome thing ever, and I stand by this. So
I think a lot of people will just feel really relieved a lot of filmmakers around town will just feel relieved for us that it's done,
Yes, it's
whether or not it comes out good.
Well, the thing about films is if, you were talking about Preston Sturgis just a minute ago, and if Preston Sturgis had a film that was in the vaults, and maybe someone had been working on it but no one knew about it, and it just got released this year from a film made in the 1940s. It'd be just as enjoyable. So I think when you're the filmmaker, you sometimes feel this anxiety of that you have to have this thing done, but it's not. The audience doesn't care at all, as far as how long it's taken.
A baby's a baby. Nobody cares about the 9 months that the mother carried it for.
Right.
Very well.
Or the 9 years.
Yeah. Or 9 years. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can keep poking holes in that in that fluid and letting it out, and it'll just keep it. Oh, never mind. I'm done.
Did you know Zob's in the movie?
Obviously,
He was the first person we shot.
Really?
Yeah.
I was the first person?
Yeah.
Oh.
We thought you'd be a good kind of
Breaker in,
yeah,
icebreaker.
guinea pig.
It was a great experience for me as a non-actor. I felt like I really worked on my acting chops in that scene because we did it over and over again until I felt comfortable with it, and yeah, it was fun.
He plays Polonius.
Really?
Yeah, Ophelia's dad. He let us shave the top of his head so that he was bald
Yeah, I
for
remember
weeks
that.
and weeks.
Yeah. I love those kinds of assignments. I'm
So-
very flexible in that way.
You are very flexible, Zob.
Thank you, Gabe.
Physically and morally.
Yeah,
It's a good
I'm
thing.
more morally.
Mainly flex.
Mainly physically flexible. I'm just kidding. I'm this homoerotic vibe from all this what in the buddhisms is spreading everywhere. I'm just gonna stop it. I'm gonna. Okay, so anyway, the Effed Up movie series. Yeah, what's going on across the street right now at the Jackpot Gallery? Let's talk about this awesome collection of films that just seems pretty awesome.
Well, tonight we're showing Buckaroo Banzai, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. And that should be starting in about half an hour.
So this goes on every Friday at Jackpot Gallery, which is on Center Street, across the street from River West Tillman Video at 11 p.m. Midnight? Midnight, yes, midnight.
Yep. And it's bring your own chair.
Bring your own chair. Last week you showed Enter the Void, which I saw an entry for in the calendar in the Onion, which was awesome. I'm glad to see that. I wish more people would have shown up. To be honest, I showed up just to say hi during the last 25 minutes of the film because I was hanging out with some friends. We were covering the race rather late, and I had an errand to run, and I showed up, and sure enough, you were showing sexually explicit scenes from Enter the Void on a large screen to an audience that some of which were falling asleep, possibly from substance-related ailments, and some people's attention was captivated, and other people were just like, "What the hell am I watching?" And it was a beautiful thing to watch an audience experience that on the big screen. I know it's shown at the UWM Union Theater once in a while, but to see it at Jackpot and to see it like on Center Street, which is kind of like a good cross between River West and like a little bit of Brady and a little bit of the East Side, a little bit of River West, a little bit of like the lake, a little bit trendy, but a little bit like not a little bit filthy. I like that there's like alleys, like these filthy alleys in River West. So I feel like that, and there's a lot of like this grainy sodium lighting. I feel like this is a good place to show this movie. There's just a lot of there's a lot of humbleness and there's a lot of like intensity. And I like literally as I was walking into Jackpot to go watch this movie, I'm like, this is exactly where this movie should be shown. So I feel it's a great venue to watch it. There's a nice quaint screen there. It's not too big, it's not too small, but it's a good setting to sit down, bring your own chair, and to watch a movie with Andrew Swan. What are some other movies that you guys are going to show or have shown?
We showed Holy Mountain was the first one a couple weeks ago.
Jodorowsky's masterpiece, which if
And,
you haven't seen, you should check
Or
out.
otherwise known as Jodorowsky.
Jodorowsky, yeah.
And next week we're showing Pink Flamingos. I'm excited for that.
I'm licking the mic.
We had golden turds there for the Holy Mountain screening. They were actually brownies that were painted with edible gold paint, and we passed them around, and it's got to eat the golden turds.
Wow. If you've never seen the movie, just imagine.
Well, yeah, it makes more sense
It
within
makes
the
more sense,
context
yeah.
of the movie.
It's a great thing. Yeah. So how did this project come to be? How did this
This
brainchild
is
come to be?
actually my friend Nick Woods' project. He has been wanting to do this for a while. He used to do it from his living room and wanted to kind of expand, and was looking for a venue. And I didn't do much. This was mainly him, but I just helped him get the venue and help him come up with some movies, and he did the rest. So this is mainly his project, and I just kind of helped out.
Awesome. Anything coming up that you're really especially looking forward to?
Pink Flamingos.
Yeah.
I'm excited about. Sallow, we're playing, I think, the week after that. I'm interested to see how that one's received.
I am very. I would love to come there and sit behind the screen just to watch the audience watch it, because the running time in that movie doesn't go too long. So it's. I mean, and it's not a boring movie. You definitely have your attention caught while you're watching it. There's definitely not a dull moment in that one. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's Pasolini's. Some say masterpiece, some say disaster piece of epic proportions. It's a strange film about an interpretation of Marquis de Sade's 120 Days of Sodom, and it's in the context of some of the falling days of the it's the Nazi regime, right? Or is it Mussolini's regime? I believe it's Mussolini's regime, where a group of young boys and a group of young girls are taken to a castle in the countryside by a group of nobles and clergymen, and a lot of really, really, really friggin' disturbing stuff happens, both sexually, poopily, and violently. And it's a disturbing work of art.
Zob, are you poopily flexible?
I'm probably average. I have a question, and I want to get back to what you guys do. Now, so you've been working on Hamlet for years and years, and just to point out, you're two people and you're making a feature-length film, and most people out there who maybe don't make films, but everybody watches films, knows that at the end of a film, there's usually just huge lines of credits, and making a feature film it's about I like to compare it to building a building. It's kind of like you guys are building a building by yourselves instead of having a whole construction crew build a building. And that's the way most films take maybe a year to make or something, or a little more, a little less, but they usually have an entire huge crew with multi-millions of dollars. And so if you take the work that you're doing and you take, the number and you spread it out, the fact that you've been working on it for 9 years really isn't that unusual in my mind. And so I guess maybe go ahead and comment on that. I was going to lead that to something else, but if you had something, it looked like you're picking up the mic there, Bobby.
Well, I just wanted to add that while it has been many years, it hasn't been constant work. There's been a lot of projects that have come up that have sort of pushed it to the back burner.
Right, and that's what I was going to get to is, so you've had this long project, this kind of like mammoth project in the background, but in the meantime, you've been doing lots. I know you guys are always busy doing lots of other things. You do something theater, but a lot of things I don't know. You've done quite a few music videos with fairly notable musicians, but tell me what you've been doing,
please,
in addition to this larger project. Tell us a little something about it.
Well, one thing that took a lot longer than we were expecting, that pushed our Hamlet film onto the back burner for a while, was a film called William Shatner's Gonzo Ballet that we kind of fell into kind of because of you not having the time to do it. And that was another project that we thought would take a few months, and it ended up taking a lot longer. Mm-hmm. But that's a feature-length documentary about ballet that was done in town here, set to an album that Ben Folds did with William Shatner called Has Been. And we documented the ballet and turned it into a movie with Pat Buckley.
And what's happened with that film since then?
I think it's been in a bunch of film festivals, and it's won a few awards, and it came out on Epix. It's a distribution company, kind of online and television.
I mean, it's just mainly TV and Netflix distribution right now.
And we mainly did it because we really wanted to work with William Shatner.
Mm-hmm.
He's like my favorite actor of all time, so it was really hard to pass up.
Right, and I remember when it was really Dick Blau who called me about it, and then I think somehow once I heard William Shatner, I was like, I have to call Andrew. I don't know if you're as obsessed with William Shatner as Andrew.
No, not nearly.
He's a convert.
What was I going to say about that? I don't know. I don't know what I had to say about it, other than that, yeah, I'm really glad you guys took that on.
I at this point, I probably know way more about William Shatner than the average person ever will, but it's nothing compared to Andrew. So I definitely qualify as an expert, but it's just accidental.
Oh, I know what I was going to say, but I don't want to talk about it. I don't know. Maybe it's not good to talk about gossipy things of you guys hanging out with Shatner. Do you have any stories to tell about hanging out with Shatner in Hollywood?
Do it.
What in the Shatner?
Let's see. Well, Andrew took a picture of,
There's some censorship happening here. There's
Oh, yeah.
a lot of.
Well, this is kind of an interesting story. William Shatner likes to have a bunch of his friends, celebrity friends, over for Monday Night Football when football season's on. I don't think it's on anymore. I think it's over.
They do it every year, football.
Yeah. So they'll be. So we happen to be in town shooting something for the movie on a Monday, and he was like, "Oh, come by my house for Monday Night Football." So we went over there, and it was really cool. And there was like, let's see, there's like George Costanza from Seinfeld was there,
God.
and John Larroquette from Night Court, and
Oh my God.
Henry Rollins was there. Which seems crazy.
You guys are making this up.
It was crazy, but no, Henry Rollins was there because he's on the Ben Folds 5 album, singing a duet with Bill Shatner.
He's there every Monday, I guess.
Yeah, he comes there a lot ever since they met up on.
Well,
the
I suppose Hollywood is kind of like River West or like Milwaukee in a way that all these people probably know each other and for various reasons, parties and projects they work together on. So
Yeah.
it makes sense in a way. That sounds pretty good. Okay, so other projects. I know you guys do something theater, or is it something theater?
Something
Yeah.
theater.
Tell us a little bit about that. And that's a collaboration with David Robbins, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that is a late night sort of anything goes TV program, and it airs where infomercials usually go. You know, so like late night infomercials, they don't cost a ton to reserve that airspace on broadcast television networks. You know, we're not talking cable or public access here. This is like
Channel 12, stuff like that, sure.
You know, and so people can just be flipping through channels and they catch this show, Something Theater. And we were putting them on for like once every other month for a while. We're taking a break right now from them. But yeah, they're really fun. It's kind of fun to put something on the air.
Where can we see it? I'm fascinated by that.
That's one of the things is it's not available anywhere unless you live in Milwaukee and happen to be up at 2 a.m. on a Friday night. We might release them on DVD or online or something at some point, or maybe we would broadcast them in other cities. But right now it's just kind of local.
So it looks like local network affiliates have pirate TV on.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And I think we usually followed Sex and the City or Scrubs. So we picked those slots so that it would lead right into our weirdo show, and there would already be people watching.
So I flip by. What does it look like? What's my first impression as a regular viewer?
Every episode has been completely different. So it could be a man dressed up like a pile of dust sitting in the corner, or it could be an animation of like a sweet potato on a conveyor belt.
Yeah. Could be like a naked guy in a hotel room flying a remote control helicopter.
So all shot on video? or film to video?
A lot of it is just our odds and ends that we haven't really done anything else with, that we kind of, so it's like a lot of different stuff. It could be film or video.
It's not all of the episodes, but a few of the ones we did. It's almost as if somebody's flipping through channels for you, and each one happens to be something really, really strange. So we never hold on anything for more than a minute or so before it goes to the next piece. But then there are other episodes, like the ones that David Robbins have done, or David Robbins, the guy we collaborate with, he's done like 30-minute pieces that are just one fluid piece that, is more holistic.
All right, this fascinates me because there's so much media that their price must have gone down considerably. What is the price, or is that crass to ask?
Well, we don't like to say, but it's pretty cheap.
I could find out if I called.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
guessing $2,200 for an hour.
Well, I can tell you after the show if you want.
Okay. I'll let it go.
We'll tell you after the show.
We have 15 minutes left to talk with Bobby and
Yeah.
Andrew. Well,
Oh, yeah.
14 actually, and then we're gonna do my box office and film news, which is actually pretty stocked today because I've got 2 film reviews and I've got a whole bunch of stuff that's happened. But we're gonna talk for 14 more minutes about piracy and about copyright stuff, which
Right.
you guys have an individual story about. So let's get going on that.
So yeah, Bobby, do you want to introduce the lawsuit and just let us know about that, and then we can kind of talk generally about copyright ideas?
Sure. So we made this what in the butt video, and then a little while after that, it was featured in a South Park episode on Comedy Central, and we found out that a lot of the people, there's an episode where several YouTube videos were sort of spoofed or redone, and we found out that a lot of the people had been contacted for licensing. Samwell, the guy who made the music, his record company, or the record company that bought the music rights to the song after the video went viral, they were paid, I think it was $8,000 to use the song, and so we kind of got the feeling that they may not have, like, a mistake may have been made, or something went wrong with the licensing, and we thought, oh, we'll just contact them and be like, oh, actually, you might have meant to contact us about licensing the video from us, but you didn't. But they were like really defensive and saying they didn't use our video at all, and so it kind of escalated into a lawsuit where we claimed that they violated our copyright.
And this became kind of a, I don't really know, but like within the entertainment industry, this became a kind of an unprecedented lawsuit, right? Am I correct in asking that?
Yeah, I guess it depends on who you talk to. A lot of people had a knee-jerk reaction to it where they thought it was just really simple parody. Like, you just take a quick glance at it, and it's just it's parody. It's South Park, and so it's parody. South Park is funny, and therefore this is parody. That was like pretty much what I think the majority of people thought. But there are a couple people in the industry who were actually thought it was an interesting case and had interesting dimensions. But I don't think most people thought it was very interesting, actually. It got headlines, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean, is that it
Yeah.
became a little bit notorious in a sense for being just an unusual lawsuit. Or I don't know.
We got
I'm kind of going based on very little information.
We got a ton of hate mail.
Really?
From South Park fans, thinking that we hated South Park or something. I mean, we love South Park. We think it's hilarious. We thought the episode was funny.
Right.
We just couldn't figure out why they licensed half of the piece, not the other half.
Right. Which makes sense, the visual
Yeah.
aspect.
Absolutely.
And
We think it's kind of interesting just because, historically the record company would be the one to have enough capital to record the song and then make the video, pay for the production of the song and then pay for the production of the video, and then they would own the copyright to both. That's kind of been how it usually goes. But nowadays people come up with hit songs and hit videos on the internet before any record company is ever involved. And this was that case where the record company bought the rights to the song after it had already been made, and they wanted to buy the rights to our video, but they weren't offering us enough money, so we said no. So they ended up with this weird deal where they own the song and not the video, and I don't think the people at South Park or MTV or whoever did the licensing were as prepared for that kind of weird situation.
I'm just asking, was it Paramount? Because South Park is on Comedy Central, which is owned by Paramount, which is owned by Viacom. So you went up against the big boys there, which when I found out about this lawsuit, I was like, you're taking on Sumner Redstone. That takes a lot of balls. That's pretty badass. I just was like, yeah, like hell yeah.
Thanks, man.
I'm just really, it's just awesome, man. It's just badass. That's all. I hate Sumner Redstone.
Yeah, we
is an
really
enemy of the people, despite the fact that the companies below him are allowed actually a pretty good amount of creative range and creative freedom. The things that he did with Blockbuster in terms of limiting people's ability to watch a film and changing movies to clean our edits of films long before Mormons ever did that. And this was just like, well, this is the way it is, and if you don't want to come to Blockbuster, you don't have to. So yeah, sticking it to him just a little bit and saying, hey, listen, man, these are our rights because we did something, we put it out there, and this is something that exists under copyright law, and God damn it, you're going to acknowledge it.
I think a weird problem that came up with the case, though, is, you remember I asked you what you thought when you first saw the video, if you thought two people made it on purpose or if it was kind of like just this weird, like train wreck or something.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
It might be the case that like, you know, the judges involved were similarly minded, where they didn't really want to entertain the idea that it was like a intentionally funny video. They kind of were thinking like we were saying it was intentionally funny after the fact.
Yeah, that's where because you brought up the issue of parody, and okay, this is a parody of something, but the thing is, you were doing a parody to begin with in a certain way. I mean, in a sense, what in the butt is, there's a lot of tongue in cheek, a lot of like.
But it's still a sound idea.
It's not sincere in that way that certain other YouTube videos are, you know, of like a baby laughing or something. It was something that was intentionally meant to be read humorous, from a humorous point of view, which is what South Park is doing. So in a sense, what they did was they took what you did and they just basically picked it up and put it in their thing, and they of course made tons of money off of it because they're making tons of money doing what they do, and they didn't give you money for that. And in a way, I understand your desire to do a lawsuit, because it doesn't really count. If South Park took a Saturday Night Live skit and parodied it by just replicating it, how would that be really anything except stealing?
That's exactly what happened in the video, and I just wanted to say this. When I saw this, when I found out about this, my memory of it was that all they did with that video was literally put Butters in place of Sam, and they just had Butters singing the song instead of Sam. There's nothing funny about it in the episode. It's not done cleverly. It's just the fact that they're implying that Butters and Cartman came up with the video instead of you two.
Well, also, it's weird when you think about the joke there is that there's a little boy talking about butt sex.
Butt in the butt. Yeah.
Which is not really making fun of our video when you think about it.
It's a completely separate concept.
It's kind of a different
it's
thing.
Reliant on, it's reliant on the knowledge of your video for it to be funny. Without it, it doesn't make any sense. So I think that right there in and of itself is case in point for a lawsuit.
The other ironic thing to me is at the time, we had already been licensing the video out, generally for maybe $300. And so they could have gotten the rights for next to nothing. I think we were estimating they made like $6 to $8 million off the episode. You know, we would have given it to them for a few $100s, and they could have avoided all of this, but they never even contacted us.
They just never asked or even like acknowledged.
No. I think because they had probably assumed that the record company had the rights, which, you know, in most cases they would.
If the video that they had used was called "The Precious Crib of Baby Jesus," it would have had a different mood all conversation. But since you're having a serious conversation about what in the butt, it seems like you might not be taken as seriously. Was that an issue?
Well, you know, we thought about, you mean like in the court system?
Yes.
Well, we thought about that, but we kept thinking about the Two Live Crew case.
Yeah.
The Pretty Woman thing with Roy Orbison. You got split.
Yeah, I gotta get across the street to get the.
Well, Andrew Swanton, has been awesome having you. Thank you so much for being here, Andrew. Part of the ever loving, ever great, ever awesome, ever notorious Bobby and Andrew duo. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for
once
having
again.
me.
Thanks, Andrew.
Sweet. There he
Across the street if you
goes.
need me.
Okay.
There he
Well, yeah, we'll.
goes again. Bobby, you.
And if you
stay,
need
man.
us, we'll be here.
Bobby, stay, please. Finish the show.
Listen in.
Yeah, be gangster and finish.
Stop by, dude.
Right on.
So.
Okay. So, but anyway, I mean, I think there was. So, you took this case on, and when we talked about it before we started the show, you said the case is over, it's done. So, what's the result? What's the end result?
Well, the end result. Oh boy, the end result is that we owe Viacom like many tens of thousands of dollars.
Makes
in
sense so
attorney's
far.
fees.
Ouch.
And what the judge decided is instead of making us pay that all in one lump sum, we have to take 50% of any revenue we make from the What and the Butt video and send that on a yearly basis to Viacom. It's not a joke.
Wow.
You should have done some sort of bargain where, well, how about if we just make another video and you can rip it off for millions of dollars?
I know you'd think they would go for that.
Well, that seems so harsh. It's incredible that there are human beings out there who do things like that. I mean, to me, it just seems so wrong that you feel violated, and it's kind of like what do they do? It's like blaming the victim, or like, well, I'm sorry to hear that. That really upsets me to hear that because I would think, okay, maybe someone could take I could see the judge saying, okay, you owe this, but we're going to just waive it because you guys don't have a ton of money. You're not a huge company. And, but we don't think this lawsuit is valid or whatever. I don't know what their
That's
ruling was.
unbelievable. I'm sorry. I'm just like in shock
I know.
at that ruling. And it's just like the most pathetic ruling I think I've ever heard. It's just like, it makes, from a standpoint, both personally and politically, and even just just thinking of the context of what you guys are doing versus what Viacom is, the fact that they are suggesting that you bothered Viacom because they screwed with something that you guys literally made is just kind of insulting to the intelligence, I think, of all independent filmmakers out there. And what it is it just seems kind of like a blow to all these, to like the little man out there everywhere.
Yeah, it's not
That's not good.
It's not good.
Oh well, that sucks. Not oh well.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's terrible. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
You just broke my mood.
And it's also one of those things. I feel like the underlying message, because obviously Viacom had the money to pay the $300 you wanted for the thing in the first place. The minute you started a stink, they saw it as potentially like, oh, this is a hot potato. We're not going to budge 1 inch with these people. In fact, we're going to hit them even harder to send a message to the world out there, to send a message to anyone who ever wants to try to sue us.
I don't know how much time you have left, but it is really interesting to get into because what the judges talked about was trolls, copyright trolls. Have you guys heard this phrase? So like right now, there's a lot of people suing other people for violating copyright or patents, right? Like Apple suing Samsung and Samsung suing Apple.
Yes, that's a
and all
huge
these people are
case right
saying
now.
like, well, I have this patent and you're violating this patent. And there's all these accusations of people being patent trolls or copyright trolls. And that's usually a situation where there's a law firm and all they do is they sue on behalf of other companies. So like the music industry, they've got a bunch of people they want to sue for piracy, right? But they don't want to go do it themselves, so they outsource the suing to this law firm to go do the suing of all the people. And these law firms are usually called trolls or copyright trolls, like a troll who hangs out under a bridge.
Under a bridge,
and
just waiting
exacts a
for
toll.
someone to copyright or steal something.
Yeah, taking advantage of
amazing.
a bridge.
Wow, the bridge of piracy.
And they were calling
That's
us
amazing.
trolls. They kept calling us trolls. That was one other depression.
That's really depressing.
In
So-
court.
Yeah.
Okay.
They literally called you trolls, and they literally called you
could have
trolls.
won.
Yeah,
in
and
court.
in the write-up, in the ruling.
Wow.
Really?
This
Wow.
is amazing. So, okay, well that's Bobby Ciraldo.
Martin, did you have something you were about to say?
Nope.
It's Bobby Ciraldo talking about a very depressing,
Martin,
a very
remember.
depressing ruling in the case that.
Well, I'm sorry to hear
they
that,
had
Bobby.
against Viacom.
And,
Andrew already left.
yeah.
Unfortunately. But yeah, guess what we got? We got the end of the show of what we
Okay.
normally do, beginning the show. So,
Yeah.
it's,
Well, anyway, should we? Yeah. So we should wrap up with Bobby
should
and
wrap up.
thank you,
Bobby,
I guess, because
for
we're gonna.
doing that stuff.
Oh yeah,
I
my
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh, one last comment on
Yeah.
the the depressing aspect of it. Don't worry about it. We got a ton more ideas in our heads and stuff.
Okay.
We'll be making more stuff. That was just
Yeah.
one little thing.
Yeah, you
And
should
that's kind of
definitely
how I look
shouldn't
at it.
let
Like,
this.
you guys got all this stuff.
I think
going
it's
on.
good to
Yeah.
take on the system, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's a very costly thing. You know, it's that,
Yeah.
that thing of like fighting the law.
I have a great idea for South Park. It's a little thing I call Hamlet.
Ooh. Yeah. It's a good idea for them.
Okay.
Okay, thanks guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.
So, here's what happened. Here's what happened with movies and movie news, box office, and stuff like that. Ooh, I need your computer.
Oh, okay. And you saw some movies also, but
I
I,
did,
don't know
I
if we have
did.
time to go into that.
I do. I will try and wrap it. Well, because do we have to end right at 50? At
No.
10? Okay.
No.
Well, I'll keep it.
I mean,
as-
because
as
maybe
concise.
these guys have seen some of the movies you saw, too.
Okay. So, I'm gonna give you some box office news, and here that news is news with Paul Harvey. Box office for July 27th through the 29th. The Dark Knight was still rising above the rest. Not surprising at all. Ice Age is continuing to do well also. The Dark Knight Rises was first. The Dark Knight Rises was first with $62 million and bringing its total up to $287 million. Ice Age was second with 13, bringing its total up to 114. The Watch, which opened, was 12 million. A disappointing opening for that film. Step Up Revolution was fourth with another disappointing opening for Summit Entertainment's slowly unraveling and slowly disappointing Step Up series with 11 million. And this was surprising, only 2,500 locations, the smallest of all the movies in the top 5, which this movie actually had a pretty good per theater average, and if it had been at more locations, maybe 2,000 more locations, it actually would have cracked the top 2. Anyway, Ted was fifth. This movie is just continuing to truck along. It refuses to go away. People are loving this. This is the sleeper comedy sleeper hit of the summer. 7,193.6 with its 5-week total. Amazing. However, The Amazing Spider-Man is not as amazing as they thought it was going to be. However, it has passed its budget point, and it is currently made $241 million over a 4-week total, passing its $230 million budget, $6.7 million in its 4th week. Not amazing numbers, not crazy numbers. Definitely the fourth out of 4th in the series, but still moving along. Brave was 7th with 4.3. Last week it passed the $200 million mark, which is the 10th film from Pixar to do such. They have had nothing but hits in their complete repertoire so far, and this is a good thing, a bad thing. It's a thing. Magic Mike was 8th with $2.6 million, bringing its 5-week total up to 107. This is another huge sleeper hit. Soderbergh directed this movie for $7 million. This is small budgeted, heartfelt filmmaking at its best. And this is how studios could learn from this movie's example. Keep your budgets low. Have human stories. Have good performances. Have strong writing. Make a movie that people will talk about.
Do you hear that, studios?
Yes. You hear that? You're listening. All one of you who might maybe ever listen to this show. It's super amazing. Savages was 9th, falling down the ladder. This movie is just slipping away. 1.8, bringing it up to $43 million under its $45 million budget. This is not the hit that Universal was hoping for. What happened? It wasn't a very good movie. That's what happened. Moonrise Kingdom was 10th Oh my goodness, it's only dropped in one place since last week. This is another huge sleeper hit. What's going on? This is $38 million for a $16 million budget movie. 10 weeks in release. It's still moving along. People are just crooning about this movie, loving it. I loved it.
Did you guys see Moonrise
Sav and I
Kingdom?
saw this. We loved it.
Nope, not yet. It's the only movie I want to see, but it's
Great.
not near me yet.
What do you mean? It's not near you? They're not showing it in your area? In Minneapolis?
I only go to the second run theater where it's $3 per movie, $5 for popcorn and medium soda, real butter.
Ah, okay. That's like me. I went to the budget cinema tonight, and I saw 2 pieces of films, but I didn't see the whole things. Popcorn was expensive, though. I went to the budget cinema with Elmo. We tend to go there about once a week, maybe once every couple weeks. Bobby, did you see? You didn't. You shook your head. You said no. You
No,
haven't
haven't seen Moonrise
Well,
Kingdom yet.
All I can say is that people. Well, I've said this before, but people clapped
Yeah.
at the end of it, which is a
We
weird. thing.
loved it. We did a whole show pretty much about it.
It's a nice film.
We did a whole show about Wes Anderson. We both had a lot to say about that movie. So that was your box office news. Now, you've got some movies opening this week. August 3rd, Diary of a Wimpy Kid 2, Dog Days. I don't care. You've got Celeste and Jesse Forever opening up. That's literally all I'm going to say about Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It's gotten some pretty dismal reviews. It's just mostly gotten 1.5, 2-star reviews. It's based on the popular graphic novel for kids. It's gotten, I mean, this is a film series that deserves to have a lot more intelligence and a lot more wit and a lot more charm and a lot more.
Have you seen?
I saw the first one and I
okay.
completely
Did
was
not-
just bored senseless with it.
Are you familiar with the graphic novel?
I am. I've read them. They're good.
Yeah.
They're actually really good. And so I'm just disappointed to hear that they're just putting another entry out there for another low denominator filmmaking where they should be doing high caliber filmmaking, which is what Disney and Pixar are occasionally known. Well, it's what Pixar is known for, but they're sinking down into this realm of focusing so much on visual splendor and on gags and on cutesy stuff that they're not actually that good at. They're good at intelligent filmmaking. They're good at making the best film of the year. Disney is really good when they put. It's easier to do things the right way than it is to do them the wrong way. If you just stop and think, how do we do this right? You will do things right. You can collectively remove.
Well, I have a theory that successful stuff in mainstream media tends to be just exactly the right bad stuff. Like the
suppose.
thing that is just bad in just the perfect
way, yeah.
that
Like the Wayans
somehow
brothers?
just resonates with the maximum number of
I
people.
suppose. But also things that are really good resonate a lot too, though.
Yes.
People
yes.
people do respond. I mean, people are not retards.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
condescending. I'm not saying that people are
They occasionally are. though.
all a bunch
That's
of
true.
idiots or something. I'm just
Sometimes
saying
they
that
are.
there's that a lot of times people say, "Oh, that's horrible. That was a horrible such
How
and
did
such."
it make so much money?
This
How is it the
movie-
biggest
This
film of
one
the year?
pop song, this Lady Gaga song, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
is so terrible. Well, it's not. It can't be terrible. It can't be.
Everyone,
There's a
yeah.
lot of terrible stuff out there, but this is just the right terrible. It's the terrible that makes millions of billions. of
But
dollars.
there's also the point to be made that people will just watch what they've been shown the most commercials for. You know,
And it depends on the era. Like, I don't think the latest Batman movie 20 years ago would not have been as successful because society wasn't as pessimistic and cynical. And I know you've talked about Batman before, so I
Burton's
won't go
vision
into
is
it.
definitely dark, but it's not as morally.
Everyone
cynical,
is
right.
bad.
Yep.
One person can make a difference, but none of the people in the movie. Cops are bad, the poor are bad, the rich are bad. I'm done with pessimism and cynicism as far as what I can stand behind.
it's interesting.
Wait, are you
when
when you say I? Do you mean you, or are you talking about the American people?
Oh, just me, because sitting watching the movie made me feel bad for because this could have had any story in it. Had the action, had the costumes, had the locations, and that was going to make it a blockbuster. The story itself is irrelevant to how big it's going to be, and I think this story was not useful to I don't want to say creative thinking, the psyche of the viewers. I don't think this helped anyone. I think it I think it has the potential of making people think about less potential of humanity.
I kind of agree with you on that one. I didn't really care. I was shocked because I loved The Dark Knight. I thought that was actually a darkly hopeful film. That actually, the major climax of that film was about two groups of people, of ordinary citizens, being put in a situation where they have to either die or kill the other group of people. And both groups of people, one of them being death row inmates, decide not to kill the other group of people. And it makes a strong resonating point that emerges the hope from this darkness, from the light. And that's the end of the film, too, is that there's this hopeful resonance with the good of people, and that Batman himself becomes a martyr and incriminates himself in order to create this sense of lingering hope and good, and creates a hero out of someone who is, in fact, a criminal.
And here's some
And
practical
then I thought
advice.
the new one was just very angry.
Some practical advice. If there is a nuclear explosion 6 miles away above the water you live by, number one, don't look at the explosion and don't feel relaxed about how it's only in the water that's going against your shores. Run!
Yeah. So, that's very true.
Oh, and also I wanted to follow up on what Bobby was saying, which is that the Batman was an example where you had droves of people going to this film who had never sight unseen, and they were paying tickets. It could have been a total flatliner, but because of the hype, everyone was showing up. But I think after a week or something, if it was a dud, it would have gotten panned, and then it would have gone down the drain, which you do see once in a while happen with hype stuff. So hype only works to the degree that it'll get a whole bunch of people to buy the product, but then if they're dissatisfied, it has no sustenance. It won't sustain itself, and it'll actually probably belly flop, is my guess. But
That's true.
Yeah.
It happens sometimes. Well, and then there's the Transformers films, which year after year are the worst reviewed films of the year and the highest grossing. So that's another side to that. 360 just came out in limited release. This is a film that's one of those everything is connected studio indie films about with Anthony Hopkins and Jude Law and yada yada yada. Everything's connected. String theory, and isn't life wonderful and illuminated, especially at its darkest and its most bleak, and the decisions we make. It's gotten
All
some
right, it
pretty-
sounds great, but you're making it sound terrible.
It's gotten some pretty dismal reviews. It got,
But I mean, that's the thing about it is that that's our job, is to review it ourselves too. So
I will probably see this movie on video. It is supposed to be extremely well shot. It's supposed to be candid. It's supposed to have some moments of complete stunning beauty, but it falls where Babel fell to. It just never quite understands the disconnect of what it's looking for, and it never quite understands the discord of harmony that it wants to represent in all humanity. It never finds its focus, and it never finds its antithesis, which is what it's so focused on throughout the whole thing, supposedly. At least in tone and in atmosphere, but without actually arriving at that point. So I've been really, really, really interested in this film for a while. Wanted to see it, and I was really disappointed.
But just like, for example, Harmony Korine, like if he put out a film, it would get terrible reviews.
No.
And yet
That's not true. That's not true. Gummo was split down the middle. A lot of critics called it the best film of the year, and a lot of the other critics called it the worst film of the year. 9 out of 10 critics say, hey, this movie is kind of lame.
Yeah, but
Chances
I honestly don't know if I trust that. But it's
really true.
there's something to it for sure. I mean, I guess the point of reviewing films is to save people
Time.
the time. Yeah, and so the job of a film reviewer is to save people time by trying to figure out what is worth the general public's time
Yeah.
to see.
And their own, and restating their own.
See, don't you think they should have film reviewers and film forecasters, like weather forecasters,
Forecasters,
help you plan your day or your weekend, right?
On IMDb,
Well,
actually.
those I was
And like
thinking
a
of weather
reviewer should be like the old
forecasters.
school, like film criticism, but like a weather forecaster. I mean, a movie forecaster could be like, "Well, are you in the mood for something, jaunty and for the kids? Go check this out." But
Well, I think they do that,
I
right?
but they call those film reviews.
Yeah.
I'm saying they should
It's a
just,
forecast.
they should just call that a forecast.
I see. Yeah, because I think that like forecasters, I think film reviewers are probably among the most criticized people in journals because they are often wrong because it's such a subjective experience.
Yeah, completely. I agree. So, and with that, you know, I mean, these are just summaries of like 15 reviews that I've read. This isn't set in stone. This isn't my opinion, but a lot of times some of these reviews are pretty convincing, and there are always good reviews to films that are completely sucky, that completely just have no purpose being there.
Well, for example,
But
just to throw one at you, Gabe, I remember you doing a review about Savages before Savages, and you said that it was going to be an amazing.
I was like so looking forward to this. I'm like, this movie's gonna
And-
be awesome. I just can't wait to go
yes.
see it.
and I,
And
you
then
know,
it came out, and then
I certainly thought it was really not that great.
yeah, I've been reading some very not great, and I.
So that just goes to show.
It's true. I acknowledged that on the show the week it came out. I was like, oh no, this is really happening. No, this movie's as bland as I was fearing it shouldn't be.
Well, it is 12:10. Should we?
Well,
Oh, you still have some more
I've got
stuff.
a bunch of stuff.
You
yeah.
got a bunch
I've
of
got
stuff. Okay,
bunch of
then we'll
stuff.
take this thing. We'll take it to the bridge.
Celeste and Jesse Forever came out, which is Rashida Jones, who's a very beautiful actress, very talented actress, very offhand actress. She was in Our Idiot Brother. She was in I Love You Man. She's a great companion piece. She's done some television work. She looks similar to the Olsen twins, and she's
You know whose daughter she is?
no.
Quincy Jones.
Oh, that's right. She's Quincy Jones' daughter. So she has yep. She's dabbled her hands in screenwriting now, and she's co-written this romantic comedy offshoot, a film that examines and sort of looks and ponders right into the cliches that often dangle in romantic comedies, but it looks at them with a new angle, a new eye, refreshing dialogue, and it's not afraid to explore them further and to explore some of the painful uncomfortabilities of modern relationships and some of the shallowness of our modern age. It's a different take on something done a million times. It's casual, it's quirky, indie. It's indie sad, indie funny. It's a romance and a breakup film with a lot of surprises, painful truths, and a lot of matter-of-fact emotional exploration. Whether this is true or not, I am very, very interested to see this movie. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while. A couple of my favorite critics gave it outstanding, high-ranking 3.5-star reviews. Andy Samberg is in it playing a mostly dramatic turn, so I'm interested to see that. I've heard he plays kind of a laconic, he's a very talented person, but he just isn't really in any hurry to prove himself or to do anything. And she's an up-and-comer career woman, and they just sort of decide to get a divorce just cause, but they're still in love with each other. There's still this great function to the relationship. So it goes against type of how most romantic comedies go. There's all this melodrama and there's all this stuff, and it's like, oh, I can't stand you, I can't stand you, and then it turns out we're still in love. It goes against all that type. I really want to see this movie.
Forecast, sunny, 68, perfect for a picnic.
Yeah, absolutely. Total Recall, the beginning of several remakes coming out soon. This, Red Dawn is coming out. Point Break is coming out. Total Recall got as panned as I was fearing it would. All special effects, but nothing special. A remake allows improvement on a concept. This one tarnishes the original just by associating its name with this crap. This could have been a political, a social, just an all-around great artistic allegory. Doesn't even present logic, intelligence, or sense. Doesn't even make sense. This movie supposedly is just a big, loud, stupid mess. It's a mess. Stick to the original. Don't bother is what I've been reading. Some of the special effects scenes that I saw in the trailers looked incredible, looked enticing, looked engaging, looked just bam, wow, pow. Apparently the movie just doesn't have a sense of humor like the original does. It has a hugely ironic, hugely tongue-in-cheek, Paul Verhoeven sense of humor to it. And this one just completely falls flat on its own face. It doesn't know what it is.
Forecast, hurricane of disastrous proportions.
Yeah.
Please take shelter.
Take shelter. You better bring an umbrella and some food for the week and bring your pet bear along because he's gonna be trapped in the house if you don't bring him along. His name's Smokey, by the way. On DVD, opening up this week, the two notable films. ATM, a bad horror film that should have and could have been really, really awesome about a couple of people locked in an ATM while a killer stalks them outside in the dead of winter.
Oh my god.
Could have been really good. IFC put this one out. I had high hopes for it. Bad. Le Havre has finally come out on video on DVD. Aki Kaurismäki's new film. Woo! We did a show on Aki Kaurismäki, and we loved him. We love his work. We talked about Carl Bogner with his work. Oh God, he's awesome. So he's got a film about an African child who, in the late '80s, emigrates to Le Havre, France, and sort of encounters quirky characters. But it's a more mature study of people than Aki Kaurismäki's work in the past. It's a little less focused on the quirks or like the Leningrad Cowboys aspect of people, and it's a little more. It's just a lot more painful, and it's a lot more focused, and his style has changed over the past decade, and it's gotten more relevant and a lot more socially conscious. I'm really, really, really wanting to see this movie. Criterion has already grabbed it. I've heard nothing but saying it's one of the three best reviewed films of the year. Definitely a must-have. It's a must-have for Le Havre, and I definitely want to review this film, hopefully for the show next week. So if you're interested, hopefully you can see it, and I can see it, and I can talk about it over the air, and you can listen, and you can tell me, and you can listen and find out what's going on, so we can, get together. It'd be awesome.
What was the title again?
Le Havre. It's Havre. And I got some more movie news. Next week, coming out in the theaters, we'll be talking about, and I'll have a review, jumble bag of what the critical consensus of 3 movies, which I'm kind of excited for next week, because it's a bag of films that should all at least be moderate, if not really good. One of them has to be really good. It has to. Okay. The Bourne Legacy is coming out next week, which I'm really looking forward to. I love Jeremy Renner. I love the style of action film, intelligent, hard-boiled political action filmmaking that those films throw out there. A lot of the returning characters, returning villains, all the people some people that got killed off, some people that got sent to jail, some people that got sent into anonymity in the series are all back. Yeah, David Strathairn's back. Yeah, Brian Cox is back. Yeah, Pam's back. Oh God, I can't remember what her name in real life is. The woman from The Contender.
Don't look at me.
I understand.
No spoilers.
Landy. That's her last name in the film.
Pam Landy?
Pamela Landy.
Spoiler alert. Mold.
Wow.
Rachel Weisz is also in the film as the female companion, and she is just a great actress. She's beautiful. She was also in a recent film called The Deep Blue Sea, which is a character study and also a period piece from the 40s full of steamy sexuality and also a lot of rich emotional study on the nature of marriage. She's been in a lot of great films in the past couple of years.
I can see Buckaroo Banzai through the window now. It's playing in the Jackpot Gallery as it looks like a beach scene. Looks pretty good through the windows from here. Gabe, what movies did you watch this week? You said you watched 2 movies.
This is taking too long to find out her name, so I'm just going to assume that you can imagine the beautiful woman.
That you can Google.
Yes, you can Google this.
You who are listening to us online.
You can IMDb it. Anyway, I did watch a couple.
Okay, well, here's an interesting thing.
So the Bourne Legacy is coming out next week. The Campaign is also coming out next week, which is a comedy starring Zach Galifianakis and Will Ferrell. And that's been a highly hyped, highly trailered movie, which at its best could be really funny, at its worst could be not funny.
Is this almost about the upcoming elections?
No, it's about 2 men both running for Senate, and Will Ferrell thought he was going to be untested in his race, and then Zach Galifianakis comes up, and then so it at its best could have some political overtones to it. It could be about our political system and the way that it works. It probably won't though.
Or farts.
Or farts are expected. Bring a raincoat. Hope Springs, which is the film I am highly anticipating for next week, is coming out. That's a romantic and a really intelligently made romantic comedy. All the advanced reviews I've read about have been great. Steve Carell plays a therapist to Tommy Lee Jones and Meryl Streep, who go on a retreat. Apparently, the trailers for this film have gone off on stupid sex jokes. But apparently a lot of the film is musicless and very direct, and comparisons I've heard to Ingmar Bergman's style of the romantic scenes, of Scenes from a Marriage-esque. So I am just incredibly shocked that that's where that movie's going, and I want to see it. 2 movies that I saw. Bam. And this isn't even the main article, which I have to get to. So I'll keep my reviews really short. Hey, all right. I saw Being Elmo, which just came out on DVD recently. I say Elmo, which is an incredible study about Kevin Spark, who is the man and the mind and the visionary behind Elmo. And this was an incredible documentary. I highly recommend this for just anyone and everyone. It's a great kids film. It's a great family film. It's a great look at Sesame Street. It's a great look at Jim Henson. It's a great look at passion. It's a great look at individual hope and just bringing yourself. It's a good look at individuality and finding yourself, finding your vision, and just getting yourself out of any rut that you're in and discovering who you really are and what you are meant to do. I was really invigorated by the momentum and the meaning and the feeling of this movie, and it kind of made me want to like get up and work on my projects. When I was just like, oh yeah, no, you just got to do it. You just got to get up and do it. And it just also is very powerful about the effect that Elmo has had on the world and on individuals and people and on sick children and like just in his attitude. There's this like endlessly hopeful and cheerful presence. I just was like, I forgot how awesome Elmo really is. It's pretty cool.
Did they talk about Telly in that documentary at all? The Telly monster was sort of like the Elmo-ish monster before Elmo came along. Elmo kind of replaced Telly.
I believe that they do briefly because he had a different voice. Yeah, they do.
Kind of older, tired, or more depressed.
And they said that they didn't know what to do with this character. It was just like, it was like a whole, and so they said, here, take this puppet. I don't want nothing to do with this crap anymore. I don't know what to do. And so he was just screwing around and goes, it's Elmo! And it's really funny is that the voice so doesn't coincide with the man. He looks very Michael Clark Duncan-esque. So it's just like, it's just really funny to see how it all evolves and comes together. That movie, I highly recommend it. One of the best documentaries I've seen in a while. One of the best documentaries of the year. One of the best movies I've seen all year. Another documentary that I saw was Euro, Dreams of Sushi. This is a great, great film. Fantastic filmmaking. Oh my God. And the subject was even more amazing. Mouthwatering. This is about a...
Is that a film that we have here?
You do have it at the store. You just came in. I did something naughty to get it. Anyway, I watched it on my computer. This film was amazing. It's about the only sushi restaurant in the world that is Michelin star rated, 3 stars, which is a very high prestigious honor. It's located...
What is Michelin star?
It's a travel guide that it's
I
like
know Michelin.
Yeah, it's like a prestigious...
It's like the AAA guide of Europe.
Yeah,
and they gave... What?
They give stars. It's like culinary stars. It's like Zagat.
Oh, like Zagat.
It's very similar.
It's different from a 5-star system. You get like 4 out of 5 stars. It's sort of like you get a gold star and then you keep it. So some places have 10 gold stars. Yeah. Oh. Some places have
every
1.
time that they give you like a mark of excellence, you just have like another mark of excellence. Like you are still just amazing, and this is amazing, and like you've just continued.
Wait, you're saying this film got?
No. The actual restaurant that it's about.
Oh,
the film is about
see.
The film is about a chef who owns a sushi restaurant in a Tokyo subway. It's 10. It only seats 10 people. It's a very small, quaint restaurant. He's been running it for like 40 years or something, 40 or 50 years, and this has gone multi-generational. Now his grandson is involved in it, and it's just an amazing character study about family and about food and about our passion, our drive. It's also a great film about work and how work defines us, our work and what we choose to do with our lives day to day, and meaning and repetition and rendition, and about order and the way that we choose the meaning of our lives through our actions and how our actions have consequences. There's just so much to say about this movie. There's great filmmaking about the food, about the sushi. It's filmed in a really clear, sort of this crisp HD. If I was going to describe this movie in words: cerebral, poignant, lucid, organic, clear, focused, refreshing, invigorating, absorbing, and mouth-watering. I highly recommend this. Intelligent, great, ponderous, questioning, and answering filmmaking, documentary filmmaking at its best. I loved this movie.
Will it make me cry like wasabi?
Maybe. There's some really powerful moments in it. There's some really... because his character is so involving, you hardly realize that you're standing right next to him, and then he has these moments where you realize, like, well, this has been his whole life, and you almost feel sad for him, but then you realize that this is all he can do, and this is what his life is. I mean, you just are so touched by his endurance and how endearing and how much this means to him. It's just, I think I did cry in one part of it near the end. I was just so blown away by the film and by its focus on him. That's the reviews. Now the big article. Sight and Sound released Sight and Sound released a new poll. Oh my God. Sight and Sound released a new poll.
That's Bobby's thing. Bobby's thing.
Bobby's got to
Okay,
go.
Bobby. See ya.
So for the
Thanks
first,
for hanging in there.
for the first time in 10 years,
Thanks for coming.
the Sight and Sound poll has come out again. This is a list of critics and filmmakers who compile a list of their 10 favorite movies, and then they compiled the Grand Master list under that according to the critics and then the directors, 1 to 10. This is a huge thing every 10 years. That they've been doing it for 50 years now.
And what does it end up meaning?
Citizen
in the end?
Kane being known as the
it
best
just
film in the
seems-
world.
Right, right. Which
That's-
is
that's-
just such
that's
a
how
bizarre.
it's bizarre and
just such a-
snobby and
it's
just
such an
prestigious.
It seems to me like that logic almost could go in the opposite. You almost
Yeah.
getting less and less. You're getting less and less to the bullseye. You're just. It's like you're taking 5
yeah.
different bullseyes and
It's
putting them on
entertainment
top
for
of
sure.
each other.
Yeah, yeah. It has
No,
a,
I'm just saying this idea of cinema being like the Olympics or something, where you have a first place and a second place.
Well, that's what the Academy Awards are.
Right. It's also just. I mean, I guess maybe it serves a purpose of some kind, but the Academy Awards is almost always wrong. If you look at what
yeah, for sure.
what the films are from the Academy Awards that won year after year, most of them are very forgettable, or else they're very a sort of
their
status
time, but
quo
then
films.
yeah,
so you
status
come up
quo.
with a status quo answer, and then the exciting films from those eras that no
aren't
one
even
was paying-
nominated, yeah,
yeah,
at the time.
they're the ones. So that I just feel like this method of
Well, this
of
is a little bit
kind of
different
like
because this
boiling
is-
down
yeah.
what is the best
But
movie
this
is
I
just
like
so
because
ridiculous.
this I like because it's more personal and it's not always based on technical filmmaking. It's more based on it's becoming more about personal opinion, which I like. That's the difference between the poll this year and other years, and movies that have moved out that are a little more archaic and more classical and more academic. And some movies have moved in that are a little bit different. That I actually just this is the best list of it that I've ever seen, and it's getting more attuned to the cinema that I think is actually more subjectively important and more mainstream enjoyed, to be honest, too, which I think is pretty awesome. The critics list. This is big news. Citizen Kane, for the first time in history since the Sight and Sound poll came out, is no longer number 1 anymore. This is crazy. Guess what's replaced it? Vertigo. This is just weird. This movie's been moving up, but this is a movie that is very close to a lot of people's hearts. That has
Well,
a
you
lot
know
of
what's
psychology.
interesting about that is that I think that when you go into film studies and maybe they've brought more Freud into it. People talk a lot about vertigo in film studies classes.
Yeah, they do.
So these people who are, the critics or whatever, are maybe just being influenced by it being that vertigo sort of. They brought in more of the psychology aspect into reviewing films or talking about cinema, and vertigo is just constantly referred to by academics.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that's
It's
what's
more of an
happening.
academic film. You're absolutely right.
I mean, the same was true with Citizen
Kane, yeah, as an academic and a filmmaking work, yeah.
But maybe at this point, and we had this conversation. Who did I talk about this with about Citizen Kane? That what's important about Citizen Kane is no longer. It's
The
like
Citizen
generations
Kane.
ago.
The show that we did on Orson Welles.
Oh yeah, it was that during that show the reason why people thought Citizen Kane was such a great film, the reason is almost like lost on people a little bit.
It
It's
is.
a little bit like it's like neo-feminists
Neo-feminism, yeah.
who don't understand what the feminists are like they don't have a problem with being sexy and wearing all kinds of hot sexy clothing and so on, because feminism has gotten to a point where those women who are brought up in a post-feminist world take it for granted that women are treated respectfully and that you're going to respect them and for more than their bodies. And so like feminists today don't need to wear like under sexy drab clothing or whatever that you saw a lot of in the 60s, because that's just taken for granted. I feel like there's a similar thing with Citizen Kane where maybe people are sort of like, well, why is this film so famous? It's just kind of like a lot of films from that period of
Yeah.
time. But what people don't realize is that it was a groundbreaking thing at the time.
Technology.
But yeah, technology
unlimited
and
blank check,
culture.
too.
Culturally, it
I mean,
was
it was
like an indie film, and there weren't any films like it at the time. Everything was very staid and industrial, formulaic, and it broke from those formulas. But now those formulas just seem like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, they're taken for granted in a lot of ways.
Can I just say quickly, with Citizen Kane, and I didn't hear you guys talk about it before, but to me it always seemed like we know Orson Welles loved practical jokes. I think he would think it was hilarious that this was considered an important film, and I think that I always thought the whole message of his movie was, look at all these great techniques, look at all of this, how beautiful the cinema is, and then when it gets down to it, it's just, spoiler alert, it's the sled, and it's a childhood nothing is what's important, and so it's this very polished nothing that's the importance of life.
It's similar to like Buddha's joke, the fact that his religion got taken seriously. I think that's why he's laughing.
I hadn't heard that.
It's a Buddhist joke, yeah. So, number 2, Citizen Kane. Still on the list. Tokyo Story is 3. This is where the list starts to get...
That's another example. For me personally, Tokyo Story is not my favorite Ozu film at all.
Late spring for me. It might be late spring. We've talked about this. Might be my favorite movie.
I mean, it's not bad. It's just, yeah, okay. You know, I
It's
can
very
see
academic.
why.
It's
I
very
can see
boring. I
why.
think it's boring,
But again, it's like these lists just kind of are boring to me. But go ahead.
Maybe they put these lists 50 years ago, and then they put them in. No, never mind.
Rules of the Game is 4th. Sunrise, coming on the list, is 5th. 2001 is 6th. The Searchers was 7th. And coming on the list, Man with the Movie Camera. Coming on the list, 9th. Passion of Joan of Arc. 10th, 8.5. The Director's List. Number 1, Tokyo Story. 2, 2001. 3, Citizen Kane. 4, 8.5. 5, Taxi Driver. 6, coming on the list as the most recent addition on the entire Sight and Sound poll, Apocalypse Now, the closest to the modern era. 7, Godfather. 8, Vertigo. 9, Mirror by Tarkovsky. 10, Bicycle Thief. Now the most interesting addition and exit is Battleship Potemkin is now gone from the directors from the critics list, which has been on there since its inception and been replaced in the usual spots that it holds by Man with the Movie Camera and Passion of Joan of Arc, which are definitely more innovative and I feel like more daring and more experimental films than that film was.
Did they have montages though?
Well, there's that great montage, which is just so overanalyzed. But I mean, come on, there's so much. The whole movie, Passion of Joan of Arc, is just one endless, beautiful montage. It's like just this surreal epic. Man with the Movie Camera is endless montage. The whole thing is montage. It's literally like maybe the most montage movie ever made.
You know, another
it's
thing,
incredible.
talking about technology, another thing that maybe affecting these kinds of lists is the fact that all this stuff used to be really hard to get a hold of. You heard about Ozu, you heard about Passion of Joan of Arc, but you'd only get to see it if you happened to be in town the one time when it did a tour.
Film school.
Right, and if you're in film school. But what to me, that list is just one of the most boring lists of films. It's just like, oh, of course, of course. There's nothing exciting about it to me because it's just the same old rehashed best films. It's just like it's a useless list. It's almost useless.
It strikes me though a lot of those films are simple, not on the surface. But let me just, for instance, 2001: A Space Odyssey. What is that movie about?
What a bunch of stuff that happens, and it's pseudo religious, pseudo fantastical, and mostly it's about experience. But I think it was meant to pretend. It was trying to be about everything.
I think you're right, except
About a film language.
everything I'm going to boil down to one thing: food. So we start off with primitive man, and they have food, but not enough food. They learn to kill. They get more food. Throw the bone up in there, the old food. You get onto the shuttle, and the guy's eating food. They get onto the base, and there's food. As they're going to see the monolith, brings out some sandwiches. And it's food, and it ends with him. He's eating food, and it's a baby that's still in the embryonic, exactly, still eating. And I love that. I love that. That is what life is all about. Is continuing, and it can only with
And
food.
just existing.
Existing, right? Nothing complicated, because we don't understand how it's complicated.
I think that all the movies that are on the list are actually. I mean, this is definitely the least boring of all the lists that I've ever seen. I'm glad Taxi Driver's on there.
Oh my God.
That's good.
I just feel like those are everything you listed. I guess maybe because I run a video store. Everyone's seen those movies. It's kind of like I just don't know what to do with a list like that. It's made for someone who's never. Who is it for? Except for people who pat themselves on the back because you like that, I like that too. But it's sort of like it's almost like people are saying I like something because it shows that I'm in the know, and it becomes this sort of like Emperor's New Clothes.
Top 3 movies, according to Zab, that everyone should see right now on the spot.
Well, I would say try reaching out for something you haven't seen. That would be top number 1. Watch something you haven't seen and take a risk. Look into the history of cinema and explore the films that have never been released before that have been overlooked because for years and years you weren't able to see them. People are always looking at the newest releases, but new releases are you only get one great film every couple, maybe 1 or 2 every year you get a great film. So if you watch every new release that comes out every month or every week, those aren't the greatest films. There's all kinds of great films that happen. We're talking about cinema's been around since before the turn of the last century. There's so much cinema to explore. So I would say, look for those kinds of films. Maybe you'll discover something there, and then I would say also explore the Gremlins. That would be the last one, Gremlins.
Is the antithesis of the beginning of the end.
Let me just throw one out.
There's a serious shift in the filmmaking paradigm.
Don't feed them after midnight. Everyone should know this. Everyone Says I Love You, Woody Allen movie from like 2000. One of my favorites all time. Yeah, it's a musical. It's a fantastic,
beautiful musical with non-singers singing.
Right,
It's a
and
beautiful language film.
big stars. So everyone's gonna be happy because of the big stars. And then watch some of the numbers are one take, one shot on location in a hospital. Amazing. It's beautiful.
If I had to name titles, because people always ask me this question, I used to always say Akatone was my favorite film. Pasolini film. That's a real. It's not a historical film of his, but it's a contemporary at the time contemporary film.
Like 55.
But I couldn't even tell you why it was my favorite film at the time, and now I almost am just like I don't even know if I like Akatone, but I used to always say Akatone was my favorite film. It's really personal. It's just a personal thing, and when people ask me what's my favorite film or what film should I watch tonight, I always tell them I ask them questions. What are you in the mood for? It's like asking a waiter, what should I get on this menu? It's like, well, do you want something citrusy? Do you want something heavy? Are you in the mood for something bready and oily? It really depends. I can't tell you because it really depends on the mood you're in. It depends on the mood I'm in, what film I'm gonna like.
And in 12 years, you won't be going to theaters for movies anymore, and movies are already not as good of quality because stories can't be told in the hour and a half, 2 hours, like shows like Mad Men and Breaking Bad. Louis C.K.
One of the best show on TV right now.
The best show. I talk about it so much and with such love that I just say I have a crush on the show.
In terms of filmmaking, storytelling, and exploring themes of darkness and levity as well.
Right.
I was just talking about this with my roommate tonight. This might be the best. I mean, this and Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones for me right now are like neck and neck. Granted, they're the only shows I watch, but I'm pretty convinced that after having scoured television, I try to watch whenever new TV shows come out. I ask all my friends what's worth checking out. I check everything out, at least 1 or 2 episodes. Louis, Breaking Bad, and Game of Thrones are the only ones that have a cinematic and storytelling.
Yeah. Well, you could add to that just from my own. If I had to poll my brain of like giving people movies, people still really love. Damn it, I'm gonna forget the Deadwood. People still love Deadwood.
Yeah.
People really love that series. People still love The Wire. The Wire has had a
amazing.
huge impact.
The Shield is better than the Wire, and I'll argue that point. Cinematography, casting, story arcs.
The Shield is a great show.
But let me just say, I'm not a big follower of these because I actually don't watch a lot of film. Yeah, I'll just wrap it up. Well, I was gonna say, that is one of the most important things that has happened in cinema. You could take the word cinema out of it. Is these HBO series, which are read more like novels. You get to really get involved in the characters, and in a way that the 90-minute format did a disservice to cinema, because people like Godard always said you can't really make a novel into a 90-minute movie. You have to make a short story into a 90-minute movie. Okay, well, we got to wrap it up. Thank you, Martin. And you had one last word before we wrap up.
You guys are doing great. Feel good about yourselves.
It's not gonna work. I feel.
That's you, the listeners.
Oh yeah, you are. You listeners, keep up the good work. Okay, Gabe, thanks. Do you have a last word to say?
Thank you for tuning in to Zav Engaged Film Review Show. We'll see you next week. Thanks.
Okay, bye.